Dear students, let us start with the new topic. Another topic from the phylum Mollusca called torsion in mollusk. Uh, all the mollusks except gastropoda. Gastropoda is a class of mollusca. Except these, rest all the mollusks have bilateral symmetry, where mantle cavity lies posteriorly or laterally. But gastropods are asymmetrical, where mantle cavity lies anteriorly and the shell and visceral mass is coiled spirally and directed posteriorly. You can see here, this is a gastropod, or you can say this is the gastropod. Here, this is the mantle cavity, this one. The mantle cavity is present, or you can see here, this is the mantle cavity. It is present anteriorly, whereas the coiling of the shell as well as the visceral mass lies posteriorly, because this is the anterior end having the head and this is the posterior end. Except these gastropods, rest all the mollusks have this mantle cavity lying posteriorly. And these gastropods are not bilaterally symmetrical, whereas rest other organisms are bilaterally symmetrical. No, this anterior situation of the mantle cavity is brought about in the gastropod by means of a well-known mechanism called torsion or twisting. It is the torsion and twisting of the visceral mass during the development of this gastropod which has brought this cavity at the anterior end. Now, torsion or twisting, let us see what it is. Torsion is a process during larval development of gastropods which rotates the visceral mass of the body in anti-clockwise direction through 180 degree from its initial position, so that the mantle cavity with its pallial complex, or pallial complex is also called as visceral mass, is brought in front of the body. You can look at this. This was the original position during the development, where mouth is lying anterior and anus is lying at the posterior end, and the mantle cavity is also lying at the posterior end. What happens then? It rotates 180 degree, and this rotation is anti-clockwise. That means toward the right side. You can see it has rotated up to this position, and later on it will rotate up to this position. So, because of this rotation, this mantle cavity will be brought anteriorly at this position. So this will be the position. Now the mantle cavity is lying over here, or you can see over here also. This is the head or mouth. Posteriorly, it was no, before the development has taken place. Mantle cavity was lying posteriorly, but during the larval development, it rotates. It is rotating on its right side and reaching to the anterior side. This is 180-degree rotation, and this is called as torsion or twisting. Now, what is the site of torsion? It is basically the neck. Here it rotates, because you can see, if this portion is to be formed like this, so it is this position, it is the neck position where actually the rotation, the twisting takes place. Head and the foot, they remain fixed. Head even after twisting is at the anterior end, and foot even after twisting is at the posterior end. Now, there are other mechanism also called the coiling, torsion versus coiling. Now, what happens basically? Normally, most of the peoples get confused and say that the torsion is similar, torsion or coiling is same, but they are not same. Torsion is often confused with spiral coiling of visceral mass and shell, but the two are entirely distinct and quite independent. We shall look into this, how they are independent. Torsion is not coiling of the shell because coiling of the torsion starts even much before coiling. That is, torsion takes place during larval stage, whereas spiral coiling takes place in the post-larval stage. So this is the difference between the coiling of the shell or the torsion. Coiling is achieved by more rapid growth of one side of visceral mass than the other. So basically, uh, this is the difference between the twisting or the torsion and the coiling. Coiling, you can see that the mollusks often, if you look from the anterior side, the gastropods, their dorsal side is having a spiral coiling. So spiral coiling is different, whereas the torsion is different. So how torsion occurs? Before torsion, larva is quite symmetrical. So you can see there, this was the original position where the larva is symmetrical, both lying at the anterior end, anus at the posterior end, and you can see all the body, all of the body parts can be divided into two equal lateral halves. This is bilateral symmetrical. Okay, uh, torsion affects the neck, whereas head and foot remain fixed. We have already discussed. So what happens? Everything between the head and foot means this portion, which is having the visceral mass, is affected by the torsion. So everything between the neck and mental cavity gets affected or rotated to its right direction. So because of its rotation, the bilateral symmetry is uh, get lost. Bilateral symmetry get lost. No, you cannot divide this portion into two equal halves because of this rotation. Torsion takes place in two steps. Number one, ventral flexure, and number two, lateral torsion. Let us see first step, ventral flexure, which is also called as bending or curving of the body. No, ventral flexure because this type of bending takes place from at the ventral side of the larva. You can say here the ventral side of the body results in looping of element integral. You can see this element integral is looping on the dorsal side. So loop has developed at the ventral side, and because of this looping, previously, this mouth and anus was far away, but when the loop is formed, then the mouth and anus are coming close to each other. This is called as approximation of mouth and anus. So it means in ventral flexure, a bending from the ventral side to the intestine or the visceral mass takes place. As a result, the anus and the mouth they come close to each other. Shell and visceral mass, originally saucer shaped, you can see, originally it was a small dish shaped, become first cone shaped. Because of this bending, it become cone shaped and laterally and a later spirally coiled. So after it will get completed, you can see a coil will be formed like this. We shall see it in the next slide. Now you can look at that prior to it, this this shell was present uh, at this very position, but due to torsion, the shell has taken the position of this dorsal side of the intestine, so it is called as exogastric shell. So now the shell is exogastric shell. Shell is has taken the position on the dorsal side of the intestine. Then next is the ventral flexion. No, sorry. Next is the lateral torsion. When ventral flexion, that means looping from the ventral side, has taken place, thereafter the next step begins. That is the lateral torsion. What happens in lateral torsion? Only neck of the larva is actually twisted on its lateral side. So now, after torsion, it will rotate laterally. So on one lateral side, that too on the right side, it will rotate at 180 degrees. Okay, or anti-clockwise you can say. And once it will rotate, as you can see, it is rotating. So it will bring this mental cavity at its anterior end. And the anus, you can see over here that besides bringing the mental cavity at the anterior end, the anus has occupied a position just above the mouth and slightly posterior to mouth, above and behind the mouth. Now, because of this lateral torsion, that is the twisting on the lateral side, this arrow indicates that it is twisting on the lateral side. Uh, the shell, which was previously present on the dorsal side of the intestine, now it has occupied the position on the lateral side, this side. So this is called as endogastric site, or the shell is endogastric. Alimentary canal has become U-shaped. You can see over here, this has become a U shape. So U-shaped alimentary canal has developed because of lateral torsion. Uh, in addition to this, now you can see that in the mental cavity, the tenidia, the gills were lying. The gills have also occupied the front position along with the cavity. And previously, if because there is a pair of gill, one on right side, other is on left side, because of twisting, right side tenidia will become the left side tenidia, and left side tenidia will become the right side tenidia, and vice versa. Now, how this torsion or twisting occurs in the molluscs? Thomson, 1958, recognized three ways in which torsion can be brought about. Complete or one, there is one mechanism according to which complete or 180-degree rotation is achieved by muscle contraction alone. So, according to this scientist, as he has observed in the acmia, that it is because of the muscle contraction, and he said that because of the muscle contraction, it is very fast, and 2 to 3 minutes takes to complete a torsion. What happens, according to him, muscle contraction is asymmetrical position pull. You can see these are the retractor muscles. They are joining this posterior end to the anterior end of the larva. So what is happening over there? That the contraction is asymmetrical. That means they are contracting on the right side, not contracting on the left side. So because they are contracting on the right side only, so they are bringing the larva to the right side movement. They are also present only on the right side because the muscles are present only on the right side, retractor muscles. So the contraction too takes place on the right side only. No contraction is on the left side. So it is asymmetrical. Once one is that the muscles are positioned in the larva asymmetrically. That means present on the right side only, not on the left side. Second is their pull is also asymmetrical. That they are bringing only one side to the anterior side. So the mental cavity, posterior mental cavity, is bringing towards the anterior side. Then there is a second theory, that is complete or 180-degree rotation is achieved by differential growth process. According to them, what happens, that differential growth means when growth on left side is more and on right side it is less. What will happen? Then then the body will rotate because one side is growing. Ultimately, cells are attached. So the this very side, say for example, if this is the side and this is the left side, once extra growth will take place over this side and no growth will take place on the right side, what will happen, that this portion will gradually and slowly takes over the position of this very side, thereby rotating the body in this way. So differential growth is the arrest of growth on one side and active extension on the other side. Generally, growth of the right side becomes retarded, so that mental cavity and pallial complex gradually pass around the right side, so to the anterior side on account of greater growth of visceral sac towards the left. So okay, again he explained what I have already told you, that left side growth is more, right side growth is less. As a result, the left side grow and take over the position of the right side and gradually brings the mental cavity from posterior side to the anterior side. Then there is a third theory also. He observed that in these organisms like haloids and patella, 180-degree rotation, whole of the 180-degree rotation does not takes place by a single process. We have discussed two process. One is asymmetrical contraction of the muscle. Other is you can say asymmetrical growth. More growth on the left side and more growth on the right side. But there are some organisms in which 90 degree of the rotation takes place by means of the contraction, the previous mechanism, the first mechanism that we have discussed, and the other 90 degree of the rotation in order to complete 180 degree that takes place by means of the differential growth. Such type of mechanism was observed by the scientists in patella and haloids. So these are the three theories that either whole of the rotation takes place by muscle contraction, or whole of the rotation or the torsion takes place by means of the differential growth, or 90 degree by means of contraction and 90 degree by means of rotation. So what is the significance of torsion? Uh, what torsion helps the gastropods? So for larva, let us see what is the significance of the torsion for the larva of the gastropods. Before torsion, the untwisted swimming larva fell an easy victim to its predator. Why? Because the posterior mental cavity could receive the delicate head and velum only after the foot was already inside. And after torsion, the mental cavity becomes anterior so that the sensitive part, head and velum could withdraw first, followed by foot. Now, basically, what happens, I will bring you back to a diagram. Say, for example, uh, this is the case. In the larva, what happens if the mental cavity, because the mental cavity is lying posterior, what happens, this portion is covered over by the shell protects the animal, and when an animal is feeling a danger or is victimized by a prey, by a predator, then what will happen, that it has to take its head as well as foot within the shell so that it can protect its body. But since the mental cavity is lying posteriorly, what will happen? It will first of all take foot inside the mental cavity, and then the time will come that it will take the head inside it. As you can see here also, it will take first foot inside this cavity, then head will come inside. So you know that the vital organ of the body are the head, because always you remember, as a human being also, you are always advised to protect your head while driving to vehicle. That is why you wear the helmet. No, because whenever injury takes place, if your head is okay, then rest part of the body can be managed. No, here also, this was the disadvantage of the posterior location of the mental cavity to the gastropod, that its vital organ shall remain outside for more time in case of any victimization by the predator, and by the time it will take the foot inside, then the head inside, by that time head may be crushed by the predator, sorry. Okay. No, uh, so if after rotation the mental cavity is brought anterior, so head will be taken, the vital organs will be protected inside the cavity first, then foot will be taken inside. In this way, it's a life saving mechanism which helps the gastropod uh, after torsion to protect its body. This is the one significance of the torsion in the larva. Moreover, operculum sealed the aperture. The cilia of the vellum stopped beating so that the larva could fell to sea bottom and water. Say, for example, if the larva is swimming in water, what will happen? Soon as uh, the cavity is brought at to anterior side, it will take the head inside, it will take the foot inside, it will seal off the covering through below, through an opening called the, through a lid called the operculum, and as a result, besides it will not swim, it will sink down to the bottom of the sea, bottom of the water. As a result, the predator will not be able to catch it. Then, for adult, what is the significance? Torsion promotes stability in the adult life. How it will promote stability in the adult life? Again, I will bring back to you to a diagram. I will show you that how stability will be maintained. Now, prior to this torsion, you can look at this visceral mass is very heavy and it is more located to the anterior side. When the rotation has takes place, after rotation, the visceral mass comes to lie exactly within the center of the body, thereby having a good balance of the body. This is the one significance. Another significance is that since tenidia are located in the mental cavity at the posterior end, so what will happen for respiration? Tenidia means gills; they are meant for the respiration. Body will move on this direction, whereas this water will not flush this mental cavity because body is moving in this direction, water current is moving in that direction. Whereas for respiration, you need to flow of water from this direction so that it can enter the mental cavity and flush the mental cavity by supplying a fresh oxygen. But because of the location of its location at the posterior end, it is not well flushed during its movement of the animal. As a result, it will flush only when animal will go upward and the water from this cavity will go will come down and then it will be replaced by another column of water. But when it is brought to the anterior end, what will happen that the animal will move in this direction, then the flow of water and the respiratory water. The water meant for respiration will also flow in this direction, thereby, it will flush off this mental cavity from three sides from anterior sides, from left side, from the right side also. It means a good flushing means a good replacement of water, and good replacement of water means a very fresh oxygen will be supplied to the tenidia, the gills for the respiration. This was the second significance to the adult. Number one is balancing, and number two, you can say the for a healthy respiration. So these were the two currents. You can see A represent the current due to flow of water. Say for example, this is the tenidia, and this is the A. Water is running on in this direction. Why? Because animal is moving in that direction. B is the current due to movement of gastropod. Again, because of movement of animal also, again the water current will go like this. But respiratory current is this. And unless the water will not come in this direction, it cannot respire. But when it is the cavity is brought to the anterior side, then all the things will go like this. You can see the the current of water is again in the same direction. The respiratory current C is also in same direction, and the movement, the current because of the movement of the gastropod is also again in same direction. Thereby, they are giving a good respiratory environment because the water is continuously changing the inside the gill. As a result, inside the cavity, as a result, tenidia or the gill is taking fresh and fresh oxygen for the respiration. Uh, no, the third benefit, the third significance is that anteriorly placed chemoreceptive organ. You can see within this mental cavity there is another chemoreceptive organ called osphradia. Once it is located anteriorly, so because this is chemoreceptive organ, it can sense the change in the water. So the animal, while receiving the signal from the anterior side, can change its direction according to the signal it is receiving, according to the sense it is taking, according to the perception uh, it is taking through these chemoreceptive organs. So Anteriorly placed chemoreceptor organ can also continuously sample the sediment. Sample the sediment means, or the incurrent water means, it will check again and again the water whether it is good quality, it is of good quality or not. And animal can orient itself properly with the help of sense organ on the head. So because sense organs are present on the head, and this is also present on the anterior side, so if water from this side is not of good quality, it can orient, it can change the position to the other side. Had it been the case that it was not the torsion, then what would have happened, that this aspergillium was present at the posterior end. As a result, sense from this side and changing the direction from this side will not help much to the animals. And you must have remembered that, you must know that all the animals have their vital sense organs at the head region. That is why they are more efficient. If the sense organs are located away from the head, then there may not be a good coordination between the sense organ and the animal, and the animal may not change the position or take the action according to the sense it is perceiving due to its receptive organs. Then, in the gastropod, sometimes what happens, that the shell is lost. Once the shell is lost, then the gill become exposed, because this cavity was because of the shell. Once the shell is lost, then the gill will be exposed. In that case, these gastropod then you can say reorient the prior position, that is they undergo detorsion. Detorsion means the torsion that has taken place will be reversed back to the original position, because once the shell is not there, then there will be not such problem of the respiration. This is called the detorsion. Detorsion is the reversion of change occurred during torsion. It is characteristic feature of whole group of euthynuria. As a result, because of detorsion, pallial complex, that means the visceral mass, travels back toward the posterior end along the right side. Tenidia point backward because they are present in the cavity, and cavity has gone back. Auricle move behind the ventricle, and the visceral loop become untwisted. All changes will be reversed, and the animal will become symmetrical. In this way, secondary external symmetry is re-established, which is called as detorsion, and detorsion takes place if the shell is lost. Degree of torsion varies with euthanasia. In opistobranchia and pulmonata, detorsion is not complete, so that the visceral loop remains partially twisted, and the anus is and the tenerima directly laterally. So, as you must remember that two steps were there. One was the loop formation, and next was the lateral twisting. If, say, for example, because total was 180-degree rotation, if it stops at 190-degree, sorry, 90-degree only, then what will happen, that it will not be a full torsion, it will be a partial torsion, where the organs of the tenedium will get directed laterally instead of anteriorly. Total detorsion is shown by a typical opistobranchia. So during detorsion, you may have the complete detorsion, or you may not have the complete detorsion. Detorsion is always accompanied by a reduction in or disappearance of shell, mental cavity, visceral sac, visceral hump, tenidia, osphradia. So all these things will get lost because the torsion was taken place in order to keep these organs at the right position. Once the detorsion has taken place, or the detorsion takes place only, then these organs will be lost, and the body will elongate and become worm like, instead of that we have seen that anterior head, posterior foot, and then a dome shape. Then the body will not survive in dome shaped fashion. It will become elongated and become worm like if these organs will be lost and detorsion will take place. Thanks. This is all about the torsion and the detorsion, as well as the significance in case of the molluscs.